Hello everyone, thank you for joining the webinar. So for anyone that might have just witnessed our last webinar, thanks for joining this one too. What we're going to be looking at here, what taxes do I pay? A webinar for sole traders. So just going to be looking at some pretty high level stuff about sole traders, when you should be a sole trader, maybe when you should think of going limited, taxes that you pay, common questions that come up, that type of thing. So here we go. So why are we at Crunch here qualified to give you some advice and support around this topic? So to give you a little bit of background, we started back in 2009. So this year is our 10th birthday, 10th anniversary of being in operation. And over the course of that time, we have helped literally tens of thousands of people that are in a situation very similar to yourself. So be that starting out with a side project and it started to gather a bit of traction and a bit of revenue, people that are looking to make a career change and step out of a full-time PAYE role and into something that is a little bit more self-employed. We've given a whole lot of advice and support. We've got about 11,000 clients at the moment, active, happy clients. So these are conversations that we're having all day, every day. I manage the inbound sales team, so the advisor team, and each month we get over 1,300 calls to the team. And online, we've got a huge, rich resource bank of guides, blog posts, articles, all that type of thing. Now, to give you a bit of insight into how popular those knowledge articles are, just last month alone, we had over 500,000 visits to those knowledge articles. So in terms of, knowledge in the industry, we're definitely very well positioned. For those of you that may not be familiar with the Crunch model, obviously we're an accountancy firm. We can help a number of different people in a number of different ways, be that someone that's self-employed, hence the topic of the conversation today. So we can help you with your personal tax return, software, etc. People that have their own small limited company, so full-time contractors, consultants, freelancers, that type of thing. We can help you file your accounts there. And then also, a further step along from that is our small and growing business clients, so people that have a number of employees, up to 10 people that are looking for a more dedicated service from dedicated contact, bookkeeper, face-to-face video calls, that type of thing. So wherever you are on your journey of being self-employed and run your own business, we've probably got a solution that is going to help you out. So specifically as a sole trader, we need to think about setting up as a sole trader. One thing I should mention actually, if you do want to ask a question, there should be a questions button on your little widget. So feel free to get questions in now and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. If we don't get to them, we'll follow up and make sure that you get the answer that you're looking for. So feel free to get those questions in at any time and I'll pick them up at the end. So first things first, you want to think about getting set up as a sole trader. It's pretty simple. If you came on board as a client, we could help you with it. But really all you're letting HMRC know is that you're intending to work for yourself. So you're going to register for self-assessment. So that's your personal tax return that you file once a year. So you let HMRC know, hey, I'm going to be filing a self-assessment when they're due next time. You need to pick a business name or a trading name, something that you're going to be known by, but there's nothing that you need to do with Companies House or anything like that. So you don't need to register a company, you just need to register yourself as a business. So that's step one. When we're thinking about business names, which you just touched on briefly, you can't use anything, might be stating the obvious here, but anything that says limited, LTD, LLP, anything that alludes to you being something which you are not. Also, you can't use anything that is offensive, sensitive. I am a big fan, and I think it should be encouraged that people use play on words, but anything that may be offensive to anyone, steer clear of. Also, obviously, anything that someone may have trademark over, so things like, obviously, we can't trade as Coca-Cola, for instance. Now, this is maybe the number one question which I get on my team every day, every week. So I've just started out a business. Should I be a sole trader or should I form a limited company? Now, realistically, there's no right or wrong answer to this question. It's really down to you. It's about what you find best, what perks you think are going to suit you and your situation the best, and then you make a decision from there. There are pros and cons for each, but when you're a sole trader, I think it's important to note that you are the business. You are the entity that is engaging with your clients. So there's no separation between you and the work in which you're doing. So you become personally liable for any activities of the business. Now, when we say that, really what we're thinking about is any debts that may be incurred. You take them on personally rather than the business taking them on. When you're a sole trader, you may also be limiting the type of clients which you can work with. So if you're a contractor or freelancer and you're intending to go through some type of agency or consultancy, they will probably require you to have a limited company. Or if you're working with a very big client, they will probably have a requirement that you are a limited company. For that same reason that we just stated before, it puts a bit of a layer between your client and you, the worker. It just puts that layer of protection between everybody involved. So a limited company becomes that separate legal entity. When you're thinking about potentially forming a limited company, there are extra responsibilities that go with a limited company. As a sole trader, you're going to be filing once a year your personal tax return, your self-assessment. As a limited company, you're going to be filing annual accounts, filing corporation tax return, potentially going to be doing a VAT return, as well as that personal tax return. So there's extra responsibilities which you have to fulfill as a director of a company. So that's just something to bear in mind as well when picking between the two. So let's assume that we go down this sole trader path. We're just starting out. Maybe we've got a full-time role on the side, or full-time role, and we're just doing something on the side. We're going to be paying income tax on the profits from all of our income. So you're still going to pay tax on the amount that's above the personal allowance for your combined income, be that PAYE and any sole trader profits as well. Things to consider: if your sole trader earnings push your total earnings into the higher tax band or next tax band up, you will have to pay that rate. So they're not running alongside one another and they don't have their own individual limits or bandings to them. You are the business, therefore you are taking this income and you will be pushed into the higher tax band. When you prepare your self-assessment or your tax return, obviously this is work that we can help you with or do for you. You'll need to disclose the tax which you've already paid if you've got a full-time role. So that would be a box of your self-assessment. I have paid X in tax for the financial year, and the amount of profits on your self-assessment will be worked, the amount of tax that you pay, on your profits will be worked out when you submit your self-assessment. So you're declaring what I've already paid, this is my profit, and then you've got additional tax to pay from your sole trader. Now, national insurance, there's a few different classes of national insurance that you need to be aware of. So you're still going to continue to pay national insurance if you've got a full-time role. That's not going to change. But if your self-employed profits, so the sole trade work, exceed £6,365, you'll have to pay a flat rate of £3 a week. That's called Class 2 national insurance. Class 1 national insurance, so the one you're already paying with your PAYE role, that's already covered. But Class 2 needs to be paid directly to HMRC through a direct debit. We can give you guidance on that if you need any help with that. So aside from Class 1 and Class 2, there's also going to be Class 4 national insurance contributions which you need to make. Now that's charged at 9% of your profits if they are between 8,632 and 50K, and then 2% anything over and above that. So that is something that is declared on your self-assessment. So your income tax and Class 4 national insurance go on your self-assessment. Class 2 is a direct debit to HMRC, and Class 1 would be done through your employer, through your pay slip. Now, expenses is something that people often want to talk about with me as well. So what can I claim as an expense? What is an expense and why should I claim them? So when you're thinking about expenses, really what they're doing is they're lowering your profit on paper, so therefore lowering the amount of taxable income that you have, therefore lowering your tax bill. So expenses are great, but there are some rules around them. So you need to make sure that the expense is wholly and exclusively for the operation of your business. So if the business didn't exist, neither would this expense. We've got loads of articles, white papers, knowledge articles that you guys can look at and get a little bit more information about expenses and how they might benefit you. Now, paying yourself as a sole trader is pretty simple. Is really just moving money from your business account to your personal account. So if you can do a bank transfer on your phone, then that's as simple as it is. I think that there's an important distinction to make there, that it's recommended that you have a completely separate bank account for business transactions and to your personal bank account. It's just going to make your life a whole lot easier when it comes to, reporting. I know that this is everything that's related to my business, and this is everything that is related to me personally. And yeah, you need to make sure that you keep a record of these drawings. Best way to do that is to have some kind of software that you can use. I mean, an Excel spreadsheet at bare minimum is probably going to be, a pretty good solution. Or you can move to something like Crunch, where we provide you with a tool that's going to make this a whole lot easier, so you can do all your invoicing, expenses, etc., all in one place. Other bit of advice is try and do it as often as you can. Save yourself a big job. So how much do you want to think about putting aside? So the more that you earn, obviously the more that you're going to pay. So we recommend that you put aside, as a bare minimum, 25% of anything that you earn to cover your tax bill once you do or prepare or file your self-assessment, and that scales up, as you can see on the screen. So once you get up to 100K, you're putting aside at least 40%, so on and so forth. But yeah, the more you earn, the more you pay. So just make sure that is kept to one side. Otherwise, you'll get stung with a surprise at the end of the year about with your tax bill. Now, at Crunch, we do more than just accounting. We also do other things like mortgages, insurance, pension, and investment advice as well. So if you want any support, not just with accounting, but with any of the other products which we offer, just get in touch with us. We're more than happy to help. So that pretty much concludes the content. What I'm going to do quickly now is see if I can answer any questions have. Can Crunch help me to determine whether I should operate as a limited company or a sole trader? Yes, most definitely. Myself and the team can give you some pretty upfront advice about what you should think about doing based on your own personal situation. So just give us a call. How do I set up a company? That's pretty easy as well. You can do that directly through Company's House, or you could elect to do it on a third-party website like Crunch has one. So yeah, log on to Crunch and you can form your company there. What else have we got here? We've got a few other ones. If at some point you want to change your business name, how do you do this? Is it complicated? Not really. You can operate as whatever you like. Realistically, you are registered as an individual with HMRC. So you can. It's really simple. If you're a sole trader, it becomes a little bit more complex if you have a limited company. If you have a small side business, say making a few £100s a month, at what point do you need to inform HMRC that you're setting up as a sole trader to declare additional income? Anything over £1,000, you'll need to declare. So I'd say for you, if it is a few £100s a month, you'd probably want to be declaring that with HMRC now. But yeah, anything over £1,000, register as self-employed. I don't know if I can answer these. What we might have to do is follow up with some responses to the more tax related ones. If you've started your freelance by using one personal account and then moved the business finances across to a business account thereafter, how do you list in your tax accounts? It's absolutely fine. So on your self-assessment, we're really not looking at bank statements or bank transactions, so long as you've got data for both bank accounts and you can kind of strip out which ones are which, both personal and business transactions. It's looked as a whole rather than two individual bank accounts. Another one is if you've got accounting software, you can plug both of your bank accounts into the software, which will make it a little bit easier for you to have money in different places. Do you need any insurance as a graphic design sole trade freelancer? Like all insurance, it's one of those nice to have. If you need it, great. But you know, if you don't have it and you need it, then you're in a world of hurt. So I think it's probably advisable to say that it's best to have insurance, particularly if you're engaging with clients. Particularly if you're on site, it's definitely best to have these insurances in place, because like we said at the start, there's no distinguishing entity between you and your client. It's just you. So if you cause any damage, then you'd want to have insurance to cover that. So I would say yes. Can you go over the annual dates of self-assessment need to be filed by each year? So you've got a tax year that runs from the 6th of April through to the 5th of April every year. So it runs April to April of every year. So for instance, the one that we've just come out of, the 18-19 year, ran from the 6th of April 2018 through to the 5th of April 2019. So if you did any work between that period, the very last date which you can submit and file your self-assessment is the 31st of January 2020. So it's the end of January, the year after the tax year finished. If I work as a consultant from home, can I offset any business expense as a sole trader? Yes, like electricity and stuff. Yes, you can. It's probably one that would need to do a more complex calculation on, depending on how much of your home you're using as an office, how much of the day you are using that room as an office would then be able to offset. That's probably one that you'd want to speak to a professional about. Is there help to complete self-assessment form? Yes, we can help you with it if you wanted to come on board as a client. Prices are competitive, relatively low, in order to give you software and support ongoing, as well as doing your self-assessment at the end of the year. But yeah, we can help you with that if you need. I'm employed part-time 3 days a week in a higher tax bracket, and I'm already doing self-assessments. I started 1 day per week contract work as a sole trader with limited revenue. Should I still be putting 25% aside to cover my tax from sole trade work, or will it end up being taxed at the same rate as my part-time employment? If your part-time employment is in the higher tax bracket, then yeah, you'll need to put aside that higher tax bracket. It's better to over-assume than under-assume, I would say. How do I come on board as a client? Really simple, just give us a call in the office, or jump online. There's a little chat function if you wanted to do it that way. Yeah, just give us a call. Jump on the website and give us a call. 10 minutes probably you're looking at to get signed up as a client. At what point in the year do I need to submit a tax return? 31st of January is the deadline. I think that pretty much covers all of it. So that's kind of 20 minutes. If you've got any questions, or if you haven't answered any of your questions, we'll follow up via email. We'll send everyone the slides so you can look at, jump on our website so you can kind of look through our knowledge articles, etc. And on the note of those knowledge articles, we've got a great, this is where we keep all of our knowledge articles. It's on a thing called Crunch Chorus. So crunch.co.uk/chorus. There's like 50,000 members there that are just like you guys, that are just starting out, trying to research, gain a bit of knowledge. We've got webinars, business guides. We've got invites to meetups that we do. So if nothing else, you might even get a free beer out of it. So hey, look, thank you very much for joining. We'll follow up by email and hopefully we see you next time. Thanks.